The Revuelto marks Lamborghini's first venture into the plug-in hybrid (PHEV) realm, a landscape that supercar manufacturers are now navigating, willingly or otherwise. As a groundbreaking model, it sets a significant milestone for the iconic Italian brand. Serving as the successor to the raw but beloved Aventador, the Revuelto will take its place as Lamborghini's flagship for the next decade. It's poised to shape the company's design and technological vision for years to come. From a performance perspective, the Revuelto has a critical role to play. On real-world roads, it aims and needs to redefine how Lamborghini's V12 all-wheel drive supercars handle. While the Aventador delivered thrills, its rugged ISR gearbox and occasionally unrefined dynamics left it trailing behind before production ended in 2022 with the Ultimate LP 780-4. Much is riding on the Revuelto, and its development has undoubtedly been demanding. The early stages were spearheaded by renowned engineer Maurizio Reggiani, who later transitioned to oversee Lamborghini's LMDH hypercar program. By the time the Revuelto was ready for its debut, Reuven Moore had returned from Audi for a second stint in Santa Gata to take over as Chief Technology Officer. The Revuelto's inclusion of 3 electric motors required Lamborghini to expand its R&D team significantly, bringing in fresh engineering talent. Additionally, the car necessitated the creation of a completely new 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox, a substantial technical achievement. Of course, Lamborghini benefits from the vast resources of its parent company, Audi, and the broader Volkswagen Group. Access to the group's extensive engineering expertise, from dual-clutch transmissions to advanced CFRP, carbon fiber-reinforced polymer technologies, has been instrumental in making the ambitious Revuelto project a reality. However, this affiliation hasn't eliminated challenges. Some within the company's leadership reportedly preferred a twin-turbo V8, potentially an enhanced version of the engine in the upcoming Temerario, over-investing millions to develop an entirely new V12. Thankfully, skeptics were convinced of the value of maintaining a 12-cylinder engine as the defining feature of a Lamborghini flagship. That decision has been vindicated. Lamborghini sold over 10,000 cars for the first time last year, and Revuelto production slots are fully booked through the end of 2026. Even at a starting price of just over £450,000, excluding options, the Revuelto is now the most accessible route to owning a brand new V12-powered supercar, a far cry from the stratospheric price tags of Pagani models or Gordon Murray's creations. While the V12 pays homage to Lamborghini's heritage, the Revuelto represents a turning point in virtually every other aspect. Now, as tradition dictates, we subject it to a detailed road test, just as we've done with every one of its predecessors, beginning with the Countach 5000 Quattro Valvo back in Autocar S September 7th, 1988 issue. Price is tested, £65,900. Hashtag design and styling. Let's address the obvious. The Revuelto is not a delicate supercar. No surprise there, considering the substantial amount of additional hardware it carries compared to the Aventador. Its increased weight is understandable. That said, our test car tipped the scales at 1960 kilograms, noticeably heavier than the claimed curb weight of 1892 kilograms. For context, its closest competitor, Ferrari's SF90 Stradale, weighed in at just 1,698 kilograms during our 2021 test. However, the Ferrari achieved this with a lightweight 39,000 pounds Assetto Fiorano pack and a smaller engine. Despite these advantages, the SF90 featured the same number of electric motors, 3, as the Revuelto, and boasted a lithium-ion battery nearly twice the size, making the comparison fair. Viewed alongside the last 1,000 bhp plus supercar we tested, the 1995 kilograms Bugatti Veyron Supersport in 2011, the Revuelto's weight appears more competitive. In terms of dimensions, the Revuelto is roughly 6 inches longer than the Aventador, with its wheelbase extended by 79 millimeters. It's also marginally taller, though it still hugs the road like a true Lamborghini when seen in person. Its silhouette is unmistakably modern Lamborghini. A-pillars that sweep seamlessly from the front wheel arches and a geometric, downward-sloping lozenge shape define its profile. Two major changes stand out compared to the Aventador. First, the exhaust outlets now sit significantly higher. Second, the V12 engine is completely exposed, with no cover, boldly displayed in all its glory. With that, to the new L545 V12, with its 6.5 liters of swept volume, a 60 degrees angle, an identical cylinder bore, and stroke dimensions to the old L539. Technical Boss Moore will admit that this is ostensibly the old mill with new heads and induction system and a lightened block, all modified so that it could be swung through 180 degrees in the new car. But a higher compression ratio allows it to make 813 brake horsepower at 9250 RPM and to keep on revving to 9400 RPM, which is a kind of crank speed that only the special series Essenza SCV12 has hit previously. In fairness, Lamborghini can hardly be criticized for recycling the motor from the Aventador. That engine itself was a clean sheet design in 2011, and it replaced a V12 that had, in its fundamental design, been in service for nearly 50 years. The Revuelto's heart is still young by V12 standards and will remain on sale until at least 2030. But why has it been turned to face the other way? Because the front axle is now driven by a pair of 19 kilograms, 148 brake horsepower axial flux motors, which draw power from a 3.8 kilowatt-hour drive battery that lives in the spine of the car and really does fill the transmission tunnel. It's why there isn't any storage in the center of the cabin. The V12, which almost physically abuts the rear bulkhead, now drives the rear axle alone, its output shaft facing towards the car's tail. The ICE portion of the driveline is pure rear-driven, in short, and without a drive shaft running underneath it. Of course, the V12 can sit lower in the new mono-fuselage chassis, for which the front subframe is now made from Lamborghini's patented forged carbon, saving 9 kilograms versus the Aventador's aluminum one. The use of a carbon front cone structure is a world first, according to Lamborghini. The car also has a fully composite central monocoque, of course, and the entire structure is 25% more torsionally stiff than the Aventador's, as well as weighing 10% less, at 188 kilograms. The all-new dual-clutch transmission is lighter than the one in the recently retired Huracan, despite that car's one less ratio. But at 193 kilograms, still weighs more than double the automated manual in the Aventador. We can tell you now that the weight penalty is worth it for the shift quality and general drivability, many times over. There's a third motor generator integrated into the gearbox. See, technical focus, right? And peak system power for the whole powertrain comes to a grand 1,001 brake horsepower. Of that, 813 brake horsepower comes from the V12. So even without hybrid assistance, the Revuelto would have been the most powerful Lamborghini road car in history. For all that the rulebook has been altered, the Revuelto's weight distribution is remarkably similar to that of the Aventador. It improves slightly to 44:56 front to rear. The Lamborghini Aventador SVJ had a 43:57 distribution on the scales when we weighed it in 2019. In suspension terms, the only notable change is that the Aventador's jewel-like pushrod spring